going to be high in demand jobs. If you're good with computers, good for you because you're probably going to get a job. Another one is going to be healthcare. Babies are being born, people get sick and hurt, and people die. Therefore, you're always going to need some sort of healthcare. So those are other things. If you're interested in those fields, those don't really go away. But there are, new jobs are created, but some jobs kind of phase out because you don't need it anymore. I know even with teaching, you can take online classes now. There's a huge amount of professors, especially in college, that don't really teach as much anymore because everything's done online. They don't actually even go into a classroom. So everything is always changing. And so when you go to look for a job, you need to say to yourself, what is this going to look like? What is the outlook? So the Michigan Outlook says the employment in 2014, so 3 years ago, was 14,900. 10 years from now, they're saying it's going to be 14,400. So are we gaining jobs or losing jobs?
Losing.
You're losing jobs. So if you were kind of teetering between jobs, should this be one that you would think you'd go and spend $50,000 at a university on? This is my honest opinion. I think if you're good at something, you'll get a job at it. I think if you're a good teacher or a person who really that's what they want to do, I think you'll get a job. Even if they say, oh, there's no way, there's no jobs here, no jobs there. I really truly think that. So don't ever go for a job that, if you're passionate about something, don't not go for it just because somebody says, yeah, there's no jobs. You never know what can happen. But on the other hand, you have to be smart when it comes to going to college and spending your money. You don't want to go into a career where it's kind of a dead end. Yes?
What if it says the outlook stays the same?
Then you're pretty average. There will be jobs, but it's not going to be like, web designers right now. They're in high demand. People want those all the time. It would be easy to get a job doing that. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not like they're just begging people. I remember when I graduated from college, they were actually giving bonuses to teachers to come down and teach in like South Carolina because nobody wanted to teach there. And they would give you, thousands of dollars to come, relocate, start your career there, build a family there. And I'm not sure if they do that really anymore. I haven't looked at it, but that was something that if they needed people, they would put those bonuses out there for you. Yes?
Do you have to, when you're searching for jobs, you have to be more of a positive?
Yes. Well, you can switch it now if it's on your list. I don't care. That's fine. Yeah, it's got to be on your list. All right. Annual average job openings, it talks about that. So, number 4, what are the various levels of pay? I would write that down. Do you need further education to make more money? That is in the notes up above that. Number 5 says, what is the career outlook for this job? Employment numbers, employment changes. Annual average openings, that's what we just went over. You literally will just write down what it says. All right. Next, pick one other state you'd like to live in and record the employment numbers and annual average openings. So down at the bottom it says view information for a different state. So I would click on that. Let's say I'm going to go to Hawaii. I'm going to look at their entry wage. Their entry wage and median and experience wage are considerably lower than Michigan's, but you also get to look at where you're living at. If that's just you kind of want to live smaller but in a beautiful place, well then maybe that's a job that you'd like to take out there. The only it does look like that goes up a little bit. In 2014, you would write down the outlook for Hawaii. The next question. Number 7, what level of education will you need for this job? I go right over and I go up to, what do you think I'm going to go to? Education. Click on that. It tells you what you need as a job to be able to get this. It says right here, teacher education programs are offered at many four-year colleges and include courses in such and such and such and such. So they're saying basically you get a 4-year degree and then you do your year of student teaching. And then you can move on as a teacher. You can go and get your master's degree, which is another degree. And a lot of times the more degrees you have, the more money you will make. right. Number 8, list 2 suggested high school classes. So this is something you guys are going to want to pay attention to because it really does have everything to go towards. So suggested high school subjects is right there. You're going to go down grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. Any of those classes they're saying, and teaching's a pretty broad, a high school diploma, you could take any of the classes. Maybe something that's, if you're getting into any type of engineering, they might have you take more math and science than teaching because teaching is so broad. All right, next, list 2 related college programs. Okay, again, you go to education and let's see, related college programs right there in the middle. You would write those down. Number 10 says, stop and give me 10 push-ups. Why do you think I do this?
You're not sleeping. Oh, great.
So you're not sleeping, that could be one thing. What else? Thank you. That's so I can see who's halfway and who's not. If you don't want to do 10 push-ups, you can do 10 sit-ups, you can do 10 jumping jacks, whatever it is, so that when I'm looking around the room, I'm like, oh, that person's on number 10. They're halfway done. Oh, that person's there. That person's there. It helps me gauge you guys. All right. So when you're done with that, just put a little check mark. Number 11, you're going to want to circle that one because you don't have to do it. So number 11, omit.
Do we circle it on the paper?
Sure. Yes. Good question. Number 12 says, please list 2 related jobs. I go to related careers, which makes sense, and I write down any one of those. List 13 says, please list 3 websites that can be used. I go to other resources, and here's a whole bunch of different other resources that could be used. The next one, this is where kids pay attention to this one because a lot of times people get, I don't want to do that, sorry. People get confused on this. Well, number 14 says, find a classmate and ask them if they need any help or have any questions that could help them with. So at that time, you'd lean over, Piper, do you need any help? Nope. Are you good? I'm good. Or maybe they do need help, and then you help them out. 15 says, pick a person and browse, listen to their interview. What were 2 of the likes and dislikes about this career? This does not mean an actual person in this classroom. This means if you look at the bottom, it says interviews. They've actually taped people in an interview. One's name is Damon and one's name is Katie. So if you go home and you're like, I didn't have anybody to interview, I'm going to say, well, wait a second. It's right there for you, right there. So let's listen to Damon. He has, if you look, questions and answers, a day in the life, breakdown of activities, likes, dislikes, advice. So it asks about his likes, so we're going to listen to it.
Is this all homework?
No, we're going to work on it in class.
I can hear it. Is your ringer on?
I can hear it a little bit.
You can hear it.
Is it coming out of your iPad?
It's
Yeah.
low volume.
Oh, I know why. My Apple TV isn't turned up. You want to turn that up for me? It's the white one. Yeah, just bring it to me. I'll do it. Thank you, sir. There we go.
My other thing is I really enjoy standing in front of the classroom teaching kids concepts or ideas that they've never heard before. And
All
just trying
right.
to be
We don't need to listen to all of it. So I would listen to that person's likes. Let's pick a person and browse. Listen to their interview. Write down 2 of their likes and dislikes. Number 15, I'd write that down. Then I go back to dislikes. Then I listen to that.
One of my biggest dislikes is when teachers are not doing what they need to do with their kids or with kids that I have to teach somewhere in the school.
All right, so there's the dislikes. And if it won't play for you, which sometimes it'll do that, it's actually written out at the bottom, so you can just read it. Then it talks about advice. Usually this used to play, but it's giving me an error. So I'll just read it down at the bottom. All right, so it goes through the likes, dislikes, enjoy a day. explain why. Number 18, how many hours would you work in a day? And then it says a day in the life. I would look over at that and I would look at what time they start and what time they end. And I would add up those hours. Then 19 says, please let me know that you've finished researching your job and wait for me to tell you when and where to hand in the finished research. So that would be job number 1. You would be done with that after that point. Then I would hand it into the basket. And if you're supposed to be, what I'm going to do actually is after, we'll work on these in class. And then I'll give you kind of like a set date. Like it'll be due at the end of the hour on Monday, job number 1. I will collect those from you. If you're working on job number 2, you start on job number 2. We're definitely going to research 2 jobs between now and the middle of next week. Any questions? Yes.
If you had 5 jobs written down from your first list and
Yep.
then you took more of the questions
Yep.
and gave you different jobs, can you still use the jobs from your first list?
Yes. Yep.